Okay, Tsahi, please start your presentation.
So you can see my slides now. Okay, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. And I was asked to talk about Webrtc, and I decided to take a slightly different approach and talk about the different extremes that come with using Webrtc. For me, that meant to look at how different vendors are using Webrtc, and are doing it in very different ways from one another. Okay, so let's start first by explaining what Webrtc is. For me, it all boils down to these two specific definitions. The first one is that Webrtc simply offers real-time communications natively from the web browser itself. It means that if you want to do a voice or a video call, you can just open a browser into a specific URL or a website and get connected. There is nothing else that you need to add on top of that. The second part is that Webrtc is just a media engine. We had media engine before, and this is just another such media engine, with the one minor difference that now we have a standard API on top of it using JavaScript. Now, I saw a few of the, I joined the YouTube stream, the real-time live stream of the previous session, and I don't understand Russian, but what I did see was slides on video conferencing and unified communications. And up until a year or two ago, in order to do video conferencing or unified communication, you actually had to download the client and run it on your PC to be able to do anything with it. And now you don't need to, and later on we'll see different companies using that capabilities in different ways. So Webrtc, on another hand, is both a browser technology, but also an open source stack. As a browser technology, you can call it Webrtc 1.0. It's a standard specification that is currently being worked on at the IETF and W3C, and it's not completed yet. There is no standard at this point in time, only a draft of a standard. But many times when people will talk about Webrtc, what they are trying to convey is the webrtc.org website or what's in it. And there you can find an implementation of Webrtc that anyone can download, use, port, change, whatever. And this is important because it means that we have two very important parts of Webrtc. The first thing is that this is free. Webrtc as a technology is free. It's free from the point of view of the code that is available freely, from the codecs that are being used, the fact that the media engine doesn't need to be licensed. So that it ends up reducing the barrier of entry for new vendors. The second thing, and the more important one, is that Webrtc doesn't target voice over IP developers. It targets web developers. These are people with totally different mindsets, totally different ways of developing. They're not going to build the same things that were built by voice over IP developers. Now, if you ask where Webrtc is available today, it is available on three modern browsers: Safari, Chrome, Firefox, and Opera. It doesn't exist for Safari or for Internet Explorer. The new browser from Microsoft called Edge that exists in Windows 10 includes Webrtc or ORTC. Now, when people tell you that ORTC is different from Webrtc, it's not that different. The APIs are slightly different, but you can think of ORTC as the next version of Webrtc. And the best example of that is that today you can do a voice call using Webrtc, running between Chrome, Firefox, and the Edge browser. And all you need is an adapter that uses the specific APIs required on top of each and every browser. As time goes by, we will see somewhere, I guess, in the second half of 2016, all browsers using roughly the same APIs to communicate. And then you can call it Webrtc, ORTC, or whatever you like. It will be one and the same. And on top of that, mobile applications, they can use Webrtc. You take the code, you port it, you put it inside the app, and you have it up and running. Okay, what I want to talk about now is how different vendors look at Webrtc and then use it to build solutions that take it to different types of extremes. I've seen in the last presentation the different galaxies of different vendors and what they use. And here we can say that that's the silo approach. And then there is the federation one, which says, well, all of these galaxies need to actually talk to each other. And I want to show 4 different mindsets. One, the difference between a vendor that uses aggregation with WebRTC to one that uses embedding. And the second one will be one that uses federation versus one that goes for a siloed approach. So let's start with federation. Essentially what we assume here, that all of the different networks and services out there need to interwork with each other and work seamlessly. And if we think who uses that with WebRTC, then the first obvious answer are those that are trying to connect to PSTN, to the regular telephony system. The second group are those that have an existing network, let's say Cisco or Polycom. Okay, they have a network, it already works, and the only thing that they need WebRTC for is an additional access point into that system. And then there's the religious group, those that just believe that federation is the key to everything in communication. So Metrics, for example, is an open source project that focuses a lot on the ability to federate signaling across different types of platforms. Voxbone, on the other hand, comes from the telephony side, and they just enable another access point into the telephony system, or enable connecting to a telephony system. Ericsson, being Ericsson, sells their own equipment to service providers, and they are part of the telephony system. If we move on to the next group, those that go to the opposite, instead of federating and making sure that everything works, work in a silo. They are trying to build a service that needs to connect to no one else, only to themselves, only to their own endpoints, their own clients, customers, users. And here you see things like those offering in-app communications. Okay, I have an application that runs to my own specific service, unrelated to voice or video, but I need to add voice calling. So I can either do it through the phone itself by having a phone and then going to the dialer of the phone, or I can have that embedded in my own application. Then there's the over-the-top layers, and when they are big enough, they couldn't care less about anyone else. There are over-the-top layers. When they are big enough and have enough users in their system, they just don't care about anyone else, so they are a large silo. They don't want to connect to any outsiders. And then there are different verticals. Yes, okay. I'll give an example, and the first example is Vedantu. Vedantu is an e-learning service in India. They enable a student to find a teacher online and use the Vedantu platform to get lessons, private lessons. And that's actually a silo. It exists only for that specific service. You can't engage with the service in any other way. Appearing, the second example, comes from Telenor. It is an open video conferencing type of a solution that exists only in the web or in their application. If you plan on using their service, you need to go to their URL. You can't go anywhere else to connect to someone on Appearing. The same happens with the Facebook Messenger that now supports voice and video calling using WebRTC. So that was federation and silos. And now I want to move to the next set of vendors, those that are either aggregating or embedding. So aggregators. Aggregators create a meeting point for multiple users under a single roof. In many cases, you can think about them as marketplaces. So those that use them will be intermediaries. Okay, they intermediate between two groups of people, and expert marketplaces where you can find someone to help you with something. So 24 Sessions, for example, is a marketplace for experts. You can go into 24 Sessions to find someone that will teach you something or give you consulting on something specific, and you go to the 24 Sessions website in order to find such a person. If you try to deal with synchronization and communication within your company, then Slack is a huge enterprise messaging service. They are starting to use WebRTC today. And there again, they kind of aggregate everything that you need into a single place. And LiveOps is a contact center in the cloud, and in a way, they again aggregate the whole experience of your website for the agent, for your call center agents. And when your agents go to LiveOps, they go to LiveOps. They don't exactly need anything to be on your desk to do that. There is no embedding. It's not in your website, or at least not the agent side. Now, the other extreme is going and embedding a solution.
Tsahi, we received a question regarding how different the aggregate approach from silo approach. Both of them.
I understand, but it's not as if there are 4 different approaches. Okay, it's 2 and 2. It's either aggregate versus embed and silo versus federate. So the last one is embed, and that falls directly at the opposite side of aggregate. What we're trying to do here is to embed someone's service on another services offering. And that happens when there's a high branding value for the customer, or what you're trying to achieve is decentralization or an added control of the experience for the end user. So as an example, Live Ninja is a marketplace that a year ago was very similar to 24 Sessions, but in 2015 they switched. From now on, their first service is only an embedded one. You can take their widget and put it on your own website. Yes. So instead of aggregating the various experts into one large website, me as an expert, I am a guitar teacher. I need to build my own website and put their widget on my website to offer the service. If you look at the web meeting space of WebEx, GoToMeeting, AT&T Connect and such, all of them you go to their website. Drum today has a new service called Share Anywhere, and that enables you to take that experience and embed it into your website under your own brand. So what I'm trying to say is you can take Webrtc as a piece of technology and use it for whatever type of use case you need with whatever specific mindset that you have, be it aggregation, embedding, silo approach, federation, and it just works. So what you need to remember is that Webrtc is just a technology, it's not a solution, and it is up to you to decide what the solution is and to put the building blocks in place to make it happen. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today.
Dmitry, asking you a pretty interesting question. So we, as a software developer, also using Webrtc technology, but people often tell us that their experience isn't good. Some issues with video and audio, but actually we cannot control this. This is the browser thing. They encode, they transfer. So maybe you know something new, some news that some plans for our endpoints, in our case, the browsers. How do they plan to improve the video and audio quality of Webrtc in the future versions? So
first of all, that's up to the browser vendors. I know at least from that the Chrome team are doing a lot of work and effort is placed in there. They have around 30 engineers. I guess most of them work today on the media side. So they recently replaced the echo cancellation, the whole echo canceller inside the media engine. They're adding VP9 and H.264 later this year. So you can expect it to improve with time and improve a lot faster than most vendors can run. And you need to change your mindset. Up until now, you've looked at the network and said, well, you know, it's the internet, we can't control it. What do we do? And you found solutions for that. So guess what? It's the browser, we can't control it. Now you need to find solutions for that as well.